up, guys? So, 2 nights ago, I went to see Aquaman, and I absolutely did not have the strength to stream about it because I went to it pretty late. But, anyways, I wanted to talk about it, and just to give you a warning, I will talk about spoilers because that's the only way that I can talk about movies. So, just bear with me while I share my thoughts. So, first of all, just like everyone has been saying, the visual aspect of the movie is incredibly appealing. I loved it. It was very well presented, very well, what can I say? Just the way it was put together, it looked nice. It was a very visually appealing movie, just like everyone has been saying. So people are not exaggerating when it comes to that. And when it comes to the flow of the story, I am someone who is susceptible to getting lost and confused watching even the most simple of movies. So I can tell you that the way this movie was put together is actually very easy to follow, very easy to understand what is happening, even if you're not very familiar with superhero movies. When it comes to the cast, I think that everyone was a great choice, especially our Aquaman, which, thinking back to the Justice League, I always felt like he was my favorite part of the movie. Like any scene that he was in, to me, he made it a million times more fun. And then I just think that the Black Mantis, what was his name? I forgot already. But anyways, uh, I thought for a moment that that was going to be our main villain, but it turns out that he is another villain, and I am assuming that in the future we're going to see more about him, maybe in the sequel, which I hear that they're talking about already. So I hope that they go further with that character because I thought he was interesting. I thought he was pretty good. Um, and of course, when I think about it, I'm like, this is supposed to be the Aquaman origin story. So, of course, we have to go over the conflict that he has with his brother before anything else and how he became Aquaman. But, anyways, you guys know me. I just need to keep my mind on the loop when it comes to this stuff. So, for those of you who are starting to tune in and you mind spoilers, just remember that this is not a spoiler free review, rambling, stream, whatever. So, that's your warning. If you don't like spoilers, click away. Um, but yeah, another thing that I liked was, of course, the costumes. You guys know that I pay attention to that type of thing. I also noticed that, what was his name? I think his name was Rupert Gregson Williams was the guy responsible for like the music in this movie, and I thought that was exciting because I only knew of Harry Gregson Williams. But is this guy like his son or something or a relative? I did not look that up because I just remembered it. I always talk about movies, music, and outfits, so that's why it probably just randomly occurred to me. When it comes to the action, I love that this movie, even in the parts where it slowed down, it did not get boring. There are times when, I don't know if it happens to you guys, but you have an exciting plot that you're just looking forward to, but for some reason it never arrives. You know, it's kind of a letdown. I can tell you that this movie will keep you entertained even on the parts where it slows down. And when it comes to the dialogue, I like that Aquaman's character, you know, was kind of the like the funny guy and all that. He had a sense of humor, and it was a pretty entertaining movie, and I like that because there are times when if you have a very depressing plot, like it's all about misery and all that, it kind of like personally it just turns me off. But this was very good. It was very well written. And I also noticed in the credits that Zack Snyder was also involved, but of course, James Wan was the director. I'm so glad that this movie was handed to James Wan because there is not a single James Wan movie that I have seen that simply did not do it for me. Not at all. That guy knows what he is doing. So I was excited to see that. And when it comes to the overall feel of the movie, like I said, I loved it. It was very entertaining. Compared to Wonder Woman, since this is a DC movie, I want to say that I enjoyed this one more only because I like that the setting was different. And what I mean by different is that this took place under the water. And just how often do we get movies that come out that take place underwater and are also very well done? Like, for me personally, the underwater movie that I have always been very fond of is like Disney stuff, Nemo. But I'm glad to see that there is a movie now in my adulthood that went that route and it was actually good. I like to see fictional places being presented in a nice way, and oftentimes anything beyond land that we see tends to be like space and whatnot, and at some point that gets boring. But it was nice to see the details that they put into the ocean like setting. I don't know. I just thought I would mention that. I kept thinking, wow, this is such a nice movie. It's all underwater. And, the way they handled the sound underwater was pretty neat because it was, how can I say this? It was subtle. Like, you can tell that they are having a conversation underwater, but it did not sound, of course, bubbly and silly. It was just well done. It was like a good contrast, and yeah, that's just the best way I can describe it. But overall, I enjoyed the movie. It was great. It was fantastic, and I cannot wait to see a sequel to it. And then I think that the aspects of, what can I say, the way his parents were shown, I like that they kept that brief because I feel like, um just like with Man of Steel, I'm glad that it all happened in the beginning and they didn't really dwell on the childhood of Aquaman. I don't feel like that's really necessary. The way they handled that was, as the movie progressed, he would have memories of how it was that he obtained his skills and he was being trained by someone who's like in someone who serves the king, which is supposed to be his half brother, but he pretty much stole that rank, something like that. But I like that as opposed to showing the progression of him being a kid and then becoming an adolescent and then becoming an adult, following a timeline. I like that they sort of skipped it around. Like, you don't have to go in chronological order. You can progress the movie, and then when it becomes relevant, that's when they would present what Aquaman knew as a memory. Something like that. When you see the movie, if you haven't seen it yet, you'll totally get what I'm saying. But anyways, you guys, I'm gonna leave my thoughts there. I'm trying to, despite my warning of there being spoilers, I'm trying to minimize the spoileritis that I possess. So that's all that I'm going to say. I love this movie. Definitely one of the best I've seen this year. Was the movie visually appealing or was it just Jason Momoa? Well, since you mentioned that, I have some kind of a spiritual connection with Jason Momoa just because he has a busted eyebrow just like I do. So in a sense, that is why I have like, some feelings for him, like I just just similarity that attracts, I guess. But honestly, when he was in Baywatch, I thought that he was like Baywatch Hawaii. I don't know if you guys ever watched that, but he was a pretty cool character. And of course, he is universally handsome. I'm not going to deny that I find the guy attractive, but beyond his physical appearance, he was an excellent Aquaman. He was entertaining. He made his role seem believable. Like, yeah, I am the Aquaman. I am this person. I have fun. I am the king of the seas, whatever. And it's interesting because he did not think of himself as someone who is like all stuck up and him being king. He kept feeling like he was not really designed to be the king. And anyways, it's explained in the movie. But yeah, when I do say that the movie was visually appealing, it is visually appealing. So if you want to involve the cast in there, sure, go ahead. But my opinion on Jason Momoa is the stuff that he's been in has always been good. And that last year, when I saw him in Justice League, he was good. And when I heard that he would be Aquaman, I had a feeling he would be good. And he is just good. So there's no point in denying it. You pushed my button. But anyways, it's not Aquaman. It's called Seaman. But movie I ever watched, Sunset Limited. Hey, beautiful angel. Well, I never heard of him being called Seaman, so um, but I can see why. I mean, it's the only body of water that we ever saw him reigning in was the oceans, of course. Like, he wouldn't really mess with lakes or anything in the movie, but he did mention lakes. But anyways, if you want to call him Seaman, just call him Seaman. We would understand probably. Now that I've been introduced to the term, I would be aware. And when it comes to the overall feel that I have for the name, I like Aquaman better. That's what I grew up with saying and hearing and reading about. So I'm gonna stick to Aquaman. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to conclude my rambling here. I'm sorry that I kind of disappeared for 2 days, holiday craze, but I will keep it together. I'll be back pretty soon. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.